Yo everyone, what's going on? Today we're going to be checking out these JBL 104 studio monitor speakers. Now before we go into anything, how's this new setup looking? If you've been here on this channel for a while, then you know this is a little bit of a new look. It really gives me some space to do these like unboxings and reviews, so I'm very excited. If you're new to the channel, smash that like and subscribe button, it really helps out. Look, I can even reach, look at this wide angle camera going on. I'm really excited to have this whole setup. It's a little bit freeing to what I was using before. All right, so here we go, the JBL 104s. Now, before I dive into like the straight up review of these, I'm gonna talk a little bit about why I picked these up. And yes, I paid for these out of my own money. They're not a review unit. I'm not paid to do this review. I just picked these up like a month or two ago, been putting them through their paces and yeah, just doing a review on them. So if you just wanna see the review portion of this, I'll like leave a link up the top or in the description so you can jump to that. But yeah, for a couple minutes, I just want to talk about my purchasing decisions. Maybe you can sort of like agree with what I've done. Maybe I've gone down like the wrong rabbit hole or something. But yeah, so if you want to see the review, just go straight to that time code. But yeah, I'll talk a little bit about why I bought these in the first place. So I'll cut a long story short with what I was after. I had a few studio monitor speakers before. They're very massive. I didn't want them in the setup that I've got now. I had some old Logitechs that were just, you know, 6-7 years old. I think they were like the 623s or 263s, and when you turn the volume knob on them, they were starting to crackle. And just, I got a new PC, just want to get a whole new clean setup going on. So I picked up the Audio Engine A2 Pluses. I've done a review of those. I'll link it up there or whatever. Very good speakers, those Audio Engine A2 Pluses. And but they're out there in the living room for the record setup. That was like an anniversary gift that me and my girlfriend gave each other. So we had a nice little setup going on there. And when it came to time to picking up a second set of speakers for the computer, I kind of wanted to go straight to those Audio Engines. But I was like, I don't want to be a dork and get like 2 sets of the same speakers. You know, there's so many speaker companies out there, so many options, cheap ones, expensive ones, bigger ones, smaller ones. So I went and did my whole like usual shopping K-hole where I spent like 1 to 6 weeks just like researching the heck out of a topic, whether it's like headphones, mice, keyboards, speakers. You know, I'll really dive in there, weigh up all the pros and cons, figure out a budget, like where's this sort of break point where like too cheap is going to get you something bad, but like too expensive, you're going to have these diminishing returns? What's this like sweet spot of like, you know, I've paid a good amount of money for like something that should be worth more? That's the sort of like, that's generally what I'm after when I'm shopping for something. So I had a few set of speakers on my wish list. 2 of them were from iLoud. There was, I believe, the micros and the MTMs. Now the micros are like $550, $600, so they're pretty expensive. The MTMs are like pushing 1500 AUD. I was looking at some Eve SC203s. Now, if you're not too sure what these are, that's because they're like audiophile grade speakers. It's almost like the high end of desktop market hits about here, and then like the audiophile grade of speakers sort of comes down to here, and sometimes there's this middle ground where everything meets, and that's generally like the $400 to $500 AUD mark. So it's kind of looking at like the cheap end of audiophile speakers, and that's kind of where Audio Engine actually sit in this like $400 to $800 range. It can be very expensive if you're sort of new to the audio world, but for what you're getting in those Audio Engine packs, they're actually pretty good. So yeah, I was starting to teeter a little bit higher than the Audio Engine stuff. I actually went to a music shop here in Sydney, Manny's, very good stuff, very cool. You should go check them out if you need any instrument sort of stuff. So I went there and listened to a whole bunch of things for like 2 hours. And honestly, all those speakers that I just mentioned, I mean, I'm not going to go into detail about everything, but I went there and I was just like, you know, this is a lot of money and the sound that you're getting out of them just isn't that good. Like, it's very good, very good sound, but like we're talking $600-700 all the way up to like $1,200 just wasn't there for me. So I was like, oh, I'm gonna go back down to like that $400 mark. And throughout all the speaker listening there was these JBL, I think 305 or 306 Mark IIs, but they were like, once again, they were like studio monitors, so they were big speakers again, and I didn't want something that big again because it just doesn't work in the desktop setup that I've got before. I want everything a little bit more sleek, semi-wireless. These aren't wireless, but like I wanted like something that would just be very low profile, and studio monitors just weren't that way. But the key takeaway here was that I went there, listened to a whole bunch of speakers. The best ones there were these JBLs. Even though I wasn't gonna get them, hats off to JBL. Fantastic set of studio monitors. If you ever want to pick them up, I'll link them in the description. They didn't actually have these in the store, so I couldn't listen to them there and then, but the guy mentioned it. So I went home, back to review mode, checked out a whole bunch of reviews, and you know, from all accounts, everyone was saying they were great speakers. And I'm gonna mention this one dude, Z Reviews. If you've ever like stumbled onto this guy's channel, he does these like long form, almost almost 2 long like reviews and sort of talks about speakers. And he had a couple videos on these, and he just absolutely sung their praises. And you know, between hearing those JBLs in the store, between this massive audiophile nerd who seems to have clout in the audiophile community, the fact that he sung their praises, and something else, I've actually owned a few JBL products before. I've had their flips. I had some of their powered monitors in the past. They seem to be doing most things right. And something I should mention is these speakers were $220, or maybe about $200 to $220. I can't remember what the final price was here. So substantially a lot lower than what I was looking for. It's almost like, okay, $200. This is more in the Logitech range of things. If they're good, if they actually hold up as well as Z Reviews says, then, you know, this could be a bit of a silver bullet in that sort of category that I'm looking for, the sort of like low profile, semi-audiophile-ish sort of speaker. So if they can deliver on what I think they can deliver, then this could actually be a really promising prospect. And, you know, if they fall flat and they just absolutely suck, then, you know, maybe I'll flog them for like $80, or I'll give them to a family member or a friend who needs some speakers. I'll hold on to them for like a year or two anyway. I'll put myself through the pain if they suck. But, you know, I was like, how bad could they be? They're going to be fine. They're going to be totally fine. So I was really excited when I got them. And yeah, that's pretty much the sort of like the journey that I took to picking up these speakers. So let's start talking about the review side of things. Let's take a look around the unit first of all. So there's this interesting sort of egg design, which I actually like. You know, I thought it was something different. You know, every speaker pretty much looks the same, maybe a splash of color here and there, but this totally different look to them. And so yeah, on the front they've got the, I'll just bring it up here. The camera doesn't have autofocus, so we're just gonna do the best we can. So we've got the volume dial there, which is really handy. A lot of this sort of speakers had it on the back, which is very, very inconvenient. So it's good that they've got it there. There should be a headphone jack here, which you can just plug some headphones in, as well as an auxiliary. So if you want to plug in some sort of external source, you can plug it into there. Now, if we take a look at the back, you've got a few different connectors here. We've got the RCA connectors up the top here. We've also got some TRS connectors. Now, when I was hooking it up to the turntable, I was using the RCAs, but with my sound card, which is a Steinberg UR22 Mark II, I believe, I'm going TRS to these bad boys. Now, I've also got these speaker cables, and these just go to the other speaker here. It's powered from this one unit, the main unit, and then you can go out to this one. Now, under the speaker cable section, you've got a hard power off, power on button. So if you want to completely turn them off, you can do it there. And then you've got this little power port. That's just where the power goes there. So yeah, as far as connectivity goes, pretty simple stuff you got here. Now, if we want to read some of the specs, then we're dealing with a 4.5 inch woofer here with a 3/4 inch tweeter. I've just got some specs over the side here. It's a 60 watt class D amp with 60 hertz of bass response. So, you know, as far as specs go on paper, it's a very, very comparable unit to other things of this price range. Dare I say, other speakers were way more expensive that offered these sorts of specs. So everything was looking like a bit of a silver bullet here with this unit. Very, very compelling package so far. So let's talk about the build quality. They seem to be pretty damn rugged. They're quite heavy. I'll chuck them on a scale and find out exactly how much they weigh. But yeah, very, very solid. It's a sort of plastic finish we've got here. Now, generally speaking, the finish is very, very good, but they do seem to get like touch marks. I find myself just like having to shimmy them over if I'm just moving something on the table. And then after like a week or so, there's all these little like finger marks there. Not a big problem, you can just come and wipe them down. So yeah, the build quality is actually very, very nice. Now, my one little complaint here is that when I got these units, I took them out of the box, and I don't know if it's gonna come up here, but there was this blemish right there, this white little blemish. And you know, it really, really bugged me when I first got them. But then when I took them out, I was like, I'm not taking these back to the store. Like, let's be realistic. These things are here to be used. They're not here to be babied. I'm probably gonna scuff them up against the wall. So I didn't take them back, but it was pretty disappointing to unbox them and have that blemish there. Now, before I go into like the sound quality, I want to talk about the volume of these. I actually find them to be not that loud, which is super surprising. They're like a tank of a unit. They've got the specs to back them up. But honestly, I plug these into my, my PC. I crank the sound, I crank my sound card as loud as it goes. I can crank this all the time. I'm at 100% here. I actually don't like going 100%, so I'll taper it off, hit about 80%. At 100, there's just the tiniest bit of distortion that it brings in. You can do it. I've done it many, many times. It's fine. But the fact that I can listen to these things on full blast is absolutely insane. Those Audio Engine A2 Pluses that I reviewed before, there's no way you're listening to those over like 40, 50%. So for me to be able to crank these to 100% and listen to them while I'm like, you know, this far away is just absolutely crazy. So volume wise, capable. Like I'll listen to them generally. My computer will be on like 100% and these will be on like 40 to 60% depending what I'm doing. If I really want to get into the music, I'll crank them to 80%, no problem. There are times that I'm like listening to a podcast where I'm like really cranking them like 90%. So the loudness isn't really there for these. These aren't going to fill a living room at all. I would not use these for a TV setup, but for a computer setup where it's like right in front of you, the volume's just okay. I would love more headroom with these, but I would say they're just okay. Now here's where things get super puzzling. So all the reviews on these were like really, really good. You know, I was a little bit hesitant because obviously they're a little bit cheaper than other comparable pairs, but I first plugged them into the turntable and once again, going from the A2s to these, I just heard all this mud and I was like, have I not hooked these up properly? Am I going crazy? So I like, you know, I looked at all the cables again, still sounded muddy, like something in the mid zone, like the 500 Hertz, super strange. I was like, did I get a defective unit? I don't know what's going on. Then I shoved them onto the TV, the muddiness was there, hooked them up to the computer, same deal. So we're using RCA, TRS, and the auxiliary cable, all exhibiting the same sort of sound profile, if you will. Very, very like woofy mid sound. I don't know what's going on there. So at first I was so bummed out. So I brought them home and yeah, I was a little bit puzzled about what's going on. So yeah, I don't really know how to describe it any more than that. All I can say is that it was a very, very lackluster feeling unboxing these, hearing them, and then just thinking, have I just got a dud here? Is this a defective unit, or is this what they sound like? And maybe, you know, people aren't hearing things the way that I'm hearing them. Yeah, I was a little bit bummed, to be honest, straight out of the box. Now, as it so happens, I was going down the rabbit hole of reference microphones and sort of calibrating your speakers. And how that works is you've got a special microphone that's calibrated from the factory, and you can play some music from your speakers. The microphone listens to what it's getting and goes, okay, well, you know, it's a little bit too high here and a little bit too low there. Here's a custom EQ profile that you can apply to these speakers to sort of level everything out. So I thought, I just got that microphone and I just got these speakers within like a week of each other. So I thought, okay, so they sound really bad out of the box. I'll be honest, they sound bad out of the box. Let's do the reference microphone thing. Let's give that a go, apply it to these, and we'll see how that goes. So I spent a couple hours, did the testing, created a custom EQ profile to these, and let me tell you, it was absolutely night and day. I'll show you, I'm going to do a whole video on the reference microphone and how you can apply that to any set of speakers, because it's a super interesting process. But I'll show you on the computer what the EQ profile looks for these, and it exactly matched up what I thought was going on. Just way, way, way too much mid-level woofiness. So yeah, once I applied that EQ profile to these speakers, they became a very, very capable unit. And you know, they started to have really, really good bass response. You know, I could put my hand in front of the speakers, I could feel the air being pushed out of them. Sounded maybe not crystal clear, but like pretty damn clear. Like I could crank up stuff. It was sounding really, really good. And when you A/B the profile, when you take the EQ profile off, it just sounds like dirt. It just sounds so muddy. When you listen to like going from good to bad to good to bad, you notice it is literally night and day difference. What these came tuned out of the box, I just don't understand. It's highly possible that I have a defective unit. I'm gonna email JBL this video. Maybe something's gone on with these. But yeah, so using that custom EQ profile, it was enough for me to go, I'm not selling these. Like, you know, I like the look of them. I really like what they were offering here. Realistically, when I use the EQ profile, everything's okay. I can like mix with these. The mixes are coming out pretty good. So I don't have a problem with them now, but there's like a huge caveat to that. I had to do this whole process to get them to sound good. Out of the box, they do not sound good at all. I could never imagine mixing anything with these because you would be so thrown for a loop on how they sound. So yeah, I'm actually wondering if I've got a defective unit, or if maybe the other 10, 20 reviews are just doing the sort of like soulless, oh yeah, these speakers sound great out of the box. JBL, great brand, go buy the speakers. Like, you know, JBL is a good brand, but you know, you gotta call a spade a spade. These sounded terrible straight out of the box, I'm not gonna lie. Now, you know, let's be real, we're pretty nerdy here. If you're watching this video on speaker reviews, you're probably in the rabbit hole of like audio listening. So I got my girlfriend into the room. I didn't really tell her like what's going on. I just sort of said, hey, have a listen to this and then have a listen to this. Let's just do an A/B comparison. And so we listened to it with the EQ profile on, and then I took it off, and she was like, what, this sounds horrendous. And I'm like, okay, it's not just me, you know, I've got some real world feedback here. So, you know, that's pretty much it as far as the review goes. You know, it's a very, very strange review for me to do, because, you know, usually I get a product and I'm super pumped about it and I can sing its praises. Maybe there's like one or two shortfalls. But to be honest, to get something like this and have it like out of the box just not sound good, it was a very like deflating feeling. And you know, I still, from all the praise that JBL gets from me and sort of other people that use their products, I still rate them as a company. They're bringing out a headphone soon, the Club One, that I'm very, very interested in. But it does make me think twice that, like, you know, I would probably never go out on a limb and buy a JBL product until I can just, you know, get my hands on a few more. And you know, this could just be one misstep. I don't know. Maybe it's this speaker, maybe it's this particular unit, but it just has got me thinking a little bit like, you know, maybe I shouldn't just YOLO these purchases. I should go out and listen to them first. So yeah, I don't want to take away here to be that like JBL's a bad brand or anything. They're a very good brand, but you know, this is a bit of a miss for me. I didn't think these were that good out of the box. But you know, if you have the ability to do this custom EQ thing with a reference mic, you can definitely get them to scrub up and sound good. Now there's a lot of pros and cons to that whole setup, but I'm going to do another video on that. Another reason for you to smash that like and subscribe. So yeah, I'm going to do another video on that, how to calibrate your speakers. Maybe go through like 2 or 3 pairs to show that, like, you know, every set of speakers and every room combination is going to be a little bit different. So yeah, you know, all in all, it's a very strange thing to review something and to go look at the price point that I picked it up for, to take these straight out of the box, plug them into your system. Honestly, I couldn't recommend them the way they are. It really took a lot of noodling around on my end. Nobody else has a reference microphone, only like TV and audio nerds have these things. But you know, if you can get your hands on one of those, or if you're like fine to sort of like fine tune speakers to your sound, then you know, you can get these and you can make them sound half decent. But $200, there's better speakers out there for that money, if I'm going to be honest. So these, you know, it's a bit of a shame. I'm going to stick around and use them for a while. You know, I'm not just going to throw money into the wind and buy new speakers, but you know, with that custom EQ profile, I can live with them, I can mix with them, but it is a bit of a sore purchase. Like I said, I'm going to reach out to JBL. Maybe these are a defective unit. If they are, you know, I'll swallow my pride. I'll chuck something to the end of this video. Maybe I'll do a follow-up video on these if I can get my hands on a second unit. But as it stands now, I really, really couldn't recommend them. It's actually strange to be doing this review channel to finally hit a point where you can look at a product and honestly say like, no, I don't think they were worth what I paid for them. You know, it's just a strange way to end a review, to not have a positive note. But maybe that shows that you know, not everything is peaches and sunrise. You got to call a spade once in a while. All right, so if you own a pair of these, or if you've heard them before and you agree or disagree with me, leave some comments below. Maybe I'm missing something here. I don't think I am, but maybe I'm missing something here with these. And yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. So you know, once again, thanks for sticking around to the end of the video. Smash that like and subscribe button. Tell me what you think about this new setup. I'm really liking it so far. Thanks for sticking around to the end of the video, and I'll catch you on the next one.